Imagine arriving at one of the most glamorous events of the year, the Gotham Film Awards 2025. The red carpet stretches out like a river of flashing lights, velvet ropes, and paparazzi cameras snapping every second. Celebrities glide past in their designer gowns and tailored tuxedos, exchanging smiles, handshakes, and carefully rehearsed poses. Everything is perfect, or at least it appears that way. But then, suddenly, something completely unexpected happens. What if I told you that one of the most famous women in the world, someone accustomed to attention, influence, and status, was stopped cold at the door, denied entry, uninvited, shocked, furious? This is exactly what happened to Meghan Markle at the Gotham Film Awards 2025, and the story behind it is more explosive than anyone could have imagined. Before we continue, please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell for updates. From the very first moment she stepped onto the red carpet, cameras caught a fleeting expression of confusion on Meghan's face. She had expected the usual fanfare, the flashes, the smiles, the admiration. After all, she's Meghan Markle, a former actress, a public figure, and a woman whose every move is scrutinized by millions around the world. But instead of walking gracefully into the venue, she found herself facing a blockade, not just a metaphorical one, but literal. Security personnel, standing firm, eyes serious, arms crossed, refused to let her pass. Imagine it for a moment. You've prepared for this moment for months. Your dress, your hair, your look meticulously planned. And yet, in front of the cameras, the flashbulbs, the world, someone tells you, you can't come in. But why would this happen? Was it a mistake? A misunderstanding? Or something far more deliberate? Early reports were conflicting, rumors spread like wildfire, and social media erupted almost instantly. Fans and critics alike were divided, speculation running rampant. Had Meghan been deliberately snubbed by the organizers? Was there tension backstage among the Hollywood elite? Or could this possibly be tied to the complex web of public perception, celebrity politics, and, yes, the royal connections that follow Meghan everywhere she goes? The tension began to build before she even reached the main entrance. Onlookers reported whispers, hurried conversations between staff, and moments of visible confusion among the security personnel. It was clear that something was off. Meghan, known for her composure, could be seen gesturing, trying to speak to the guards, asking, "Why am I being stopped?" But the response was either non-existent or curt, leaving the former Duchess visibly frustrated. For anyone watching, it was a surreal scene. A woman who has walked the most prestigious red carpets in the world, faced tabloid storms, and managed global public relations crises, suddenly powerless at the threshold. As the cameras continued to flash, capturing every micro-expression, the crowd began to murmur. Some people assumed it was a minor issue, a simple misunderstanding. Others whispered about a possible deliberate snub. Meanwhile, the paparazzi, sensing an unprecedented story, were already buzzing with energy. Every tweet, every Instagram story, every live broadcast was building a narrative that the Gotham Film Awards 2025 was about to become infamous. Not for the movies celebrated, but for the drama unfolding right at the red carpet. Now, here's what makes this story even more intriguing. Meghan's life has never been far from controversy. From her royal marriage to her Hollywood career, she has faced intense public scrutiny. But in this moment, at this very red carpet, she was stripped of control in a way that few could have imagined. Security was not just enforcing protocol. They were symbolically challenging her presence, testing her public persona in front of millions. And yet, Meghan is not the type of person to accept humiliation quietly. The tension mounted as she attempted to negotiate, seeking clarity, seeking acknowledgement, and perhaps seeking validation. As we dive deeper into what happened that night, it's important to understand the stakes. This was not just a Hollywood event. The Gotham Film Awards are a convergence of the industry's most powerful figures. Decisions, invitations, and access are more than just courtesy. They represent influence, networking, and the subtle machinations of power. To be denied entry is not just an inconvenience. It is a statement. And for Meghan, whose public image is meticulously managed, this was a direct affront to her status and authority. What makes this event even more shocking is the timing. 2025 has already been a year of upheavals, rumors, and public disputes involving Meghan Markle. From previous controversies in Hollywood circles to whispers of royal entanglements, the environment was already primed for tension. And now, at one of the most publicized events of the year, Meghan was being publicly humiliated. The cameras didn't just capture a moment, they captured a crisis in real time. This incident would go on to dominate headlines, dominate social media, and dominate conversations for days, weeks, and possibly months to come. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. At the moment she was stopped at the door, Meghan's reaction was a mixture of disbelief, indignation, and controlled fury. Her team attempted to intervene, speaking to security and event organizers, but the situation only escalated. Voices were raised. Cameras caught every exchange. And the crowd, sensing that this was not going to be a simple, "Oh, sorry, come in," began to focus entirely on the confrontation. Imagine standing there, the world watching, and realizing that your presence is being questioned in the most public way imaginable. And yet, despite the initial shock, Meghan's response was strategic. She did not simply storm away. She did not throw a tantrum. Instead, she remained composed enough to negotiate, enough to maintain a semblance of dignity, and enough to make sure that the cameras captured her side of the story. There is a subtle brilliance in this. By maintaining composure while visibly frustrated, Meghan created a narrative of resilience and authority, even in a moment of potential embarrassment. But as we'll see, this was only the beginning. Because what happened next? Rumors of secret alliances, leaked messages, backstage whispers, would take this incident from a simple denial of entry to a story that intertwined Hollywood politics, royal intrigue, and personal drama on a global stage. The tension, the suspense, and the drama were far from over. In fact, the night would become legendary, not for the awards themselves, but for the spectacle surrounding Meghan Markle and her denied entry. So, why does this matter to you, the viewer? Because this isn't just a story about a celebrity being stopped at a door. It's a story about power, perception, and the way the world watches someone who is always under scrutiny. It's about what happens when public image collides with private politics, and how one moment of denial can trigger a chain reaction that reverberates across social media, news outlets, and even royal circles. And perhaps most importantly, it's about human emotion, the humiliation, the fury, the strategic response, all laid bare on a red carpet in Gotham. But what came next would change everything, and no one saw it coming. The stage was set, the tension was building, and the cameras were rolling. Behind the velvet ropes, secrets were waiting to be revealed. And in the next chapters, we will uncover not just why Meghan was denied entry, but the shocking fallout, the viral moments, the insider leaks, and the alliances that would shape the story in ways that no one could have predicted. This is the story of Meghan Markle at the Gotham Film Awards 2025, an uninvited guest, a public confrontation, and a moment that would shock the world. And as you stay with us, prepare for the twists, the surprises, and the drama that only unfolds when Hollywood, royalty, and public perception collide in a single unforgettable night. What if the very moment you arrive at an event you've been anticipating for months becomes the moment your world flips upside down? Picture this. The Gotham Film Awards 2025, one of the most glamorous nights in Hollywood, is in full swing. The red carpet is a river of shimmering gowns, slick tuxedos, and dazzling lights. Flashbulbs pop like fireworks. Paparazzi cameras swivel, capturing every carefully orchestrated smile, every calculated pose. Celebrities glide past as if they were floating on air, their movements deliberate, rehearsed, and flawless. The crowd cheers, the music swells, and everything feels magical until it isn't. In walks Meghan Markle. She steps onto the red carpet with all the poise of someone used to being observed by millions. Her gown catches the lights perfectly. Her hair frames her face just so. But the moment she approaches the entrance, the energy shifts. You can feel it. The cameras click a little faster. The murmurs in the crowd grow a little louder. People sense something is wrong, even before they know what it is. And then it happens. The barrier. Security personnel stand firm, arms crossed, eyes unblinking. The path that seemed clear suddenly becomes impassable. Meghan, the woman accustomed to commanding attention, is stopped cold. Imagine it. You've rehearsed your smile, your walk, your entrance. You've coordinated with your stylist, your hair team, your makeup artists. Every detail is perfect. You've mentally prepared for the admiration, for the flashes, for the applause. And then, bam, you are denied access at the threshold. It's not just a logistical obstacle. It's a symbolic one. It's the universe, or at least the gatekeepers of Hollywood, telling you, you're not welcome here. But why? The question hangs in the air like a thick fog. Was it a simple mistake? An overzealous security guard enforcing protocol? Or something far more deliberate, orchestrated behind the scenes by powers that prefer she not attend? Rumors swirl almost instantly. Some whisper that the organizers had internal conflicts with Meghan. Others hint at a more calculated move. Hollywood politics at its finest, a clash of egos, a subtle dig at someone who has a high profile and a polarizing reputation. And all of this unfolds under the glare of 1,000 cameras, with millions of eyes potentially watching live feeds around the world. The crowd begins to sense the drama before the details are clear. Onlookers whisper to each other, glancing at Meghan, then at the security staff. A few fans murmur in disbelief. What's happening? They ask, craning their necks to catch a better view. And while the world speculates, Meghan is visibly assessing the situation. Her expressions flicker across a spectrum: confusion, disbelief, frustration, controlled fury. Her body language is telling, slightly stiff, alert, poised but tense. She knows she's being watched. She knows that every movement, every gesture, every word will be analyzed, dissected, and circulated. And yet, she doesn't step back. She doesn't retreat. She's Meghan Markle, and she refuses to be ignored. Her team rushes to her side. Stylists, security aides, personal assistants, and publicists attempt to negotiate with the guards. Voices rise, questions are asked, instructions are repeated. She's on the list, they insist. This is a mistake. But the response is firm, immovable, almost mechanical. She cannot enter. There's no room for debate. The guards are enforcing orders. Orders that, at this moment, seem both bewildering and deliberate. The crowd senses the tension. Paparazzi sense the opportunity. Social media is already lighting up as a few witnesses begin live-streaming the moment, capturing Meghan halted at the doorway, framed by the velvet ropes. Let's pause and consider this for a moment. The red carpet is designed for access, visibility, and glamour. It's a place where celebrities shine, where fashion statements are made, where public image is cultivated. And yet here is Meghan Markle, denied that very visibility, denied access to the stage that is her domain as much as anyone else's. There's a psychological layer here that is fascinating. In a world where public perception can make or break careers, being blocked at the door isn't just inconvenient. It's a blow to status, to authority, to self-perception. As Meghan continues to engage with security, trying to understand why she's being stopped, the scene grows more intense. A crowd begins to form, curious onlookers who sense something unusual is happening. Some whisper, others point, some record. The flashing lights of cameras create a surreal strobe effect on her gown, her face, the velvet ropes. Every gesture, every slight movement, is captured in exquisite detail. Every moment is a story waiting to be told, a narrative fragment that will be reinterpreted millions of times online. What's happening backstage? What conversations are being had among the organizers, the directors, the VIP coordinators? It's unclear, but one thing is obvious. This is not a simple mistake. The tension is too palpable, the hesitation too deliberate, and Meghan, no stranger to media storms or public scrutiny, senses it immediately. She knows that this is bigger than just a minor security hiccup. There's intent here, some invisible hand shaping the narrative, some unseen force influencing the flow of the evening. And if she wants to reclaim control, she has to act, but carefully. Every move is under scrutiny, every response carries weight, and any misstep could be magnified beyond recognition. At this point, the paparazzi start to shift focus. Instead of photographing the glitz and glamour, they're capturing the unfolding confrontation. Meghan's halted entrance becomes the headline, the talking point, the moment that everyone on social media will replay over and over. Some speculate that she is storming off in fury. Others note her calm composure. Some argue she is negotiating, attempting to assert her authority, trying to reclaim the narrative. The scene is cinematic, almost surreal, a live drama unfolding in real time. Here's what's most striking. Despite the humiliation, Meghan doesn't simply retreat. She maintains poise, projecting authority even in frustration. She knows that how she handles this moment will define the public perception of her in the immediate hours, days, and potentially weeks. And yet, she is human. The flashes capture subtle micro-expressions, tightening of the jaw, narrowing of the eyes, slight shifts in posture, that reveal the storm beneath the surface. It's the tension between public composure and private indignation, played out on the grandest stage imaginable. By now, whispers have turned into speculation, speculation into gossip, and gossip into an early viral moment. Fans and critics alike are debating the scene. Was this a deliberate snub? A security protocol gone awry? Or is there a more intricate, behind-the-scenes story involving Hollywood politics, rivalries, or even royal undertones? The questions mount, but answers are elusive. The suspense is at a peak. Every observer is left wondering, what happens next? Will Meghan be allowed in? Will she walk away? Or will she confront those preventing her from entering the venue? And here's where the story truly begins. The drama at the red carpet is only the surface. Beneath it lies a complex web of motivations, whispers, and power dynamics that will slowly unravel over the course of the evening. Meghan's response, the reactions of celebrities, the maneuvers of organizers, and the eventual fallout will create a narrative that is as much about human emotion as it is about celebrity spectacle. The stage is set for a series of revelations that will shock, intrigue, and captivate the world. Have you ever been stopped in your tracks, not by circumstance, but by someone else's authority? Imagine stepping up to the entrance of one of the most prestigious events of the year, expecting a red carpet of adoration, only to find an invisible wall in the form of human bodies standing in your path. That's exactly what Meghan Markle faced at the Gotham Film Awards 2025. The moment she tried to cross the threshold, security personnel became the ultimate gatekeepers. Arms crossed, faces firm, and eyes unwavering, they didn't budge. Every step she took was halted, every gesture scrutinized. It was more than a denial. It was a public confrontation, played out in front of cameras, onlookers, and a world watching through live feeds. The first questions began immediately. Who had authorized this? Was it a mistake? A miscommunication? Or a deliberate action? Meghan, accustomed to navigating highly publicized situations, quickly tried to assess the motives. Her team approached the security head, a man whose posture screamed authority and whose eyes reflected the seriousness of his task. "She's on the list," one of her aides said, voice tight with urgency. "This is a mistake. Let her in." The reply was cold, almost robotic. "I'm sorry, ma'am. Protocol is protocol." The message was clear. This was not negotiable. But here's where the tension escalated. The onlookers, the crowd, the press, they all sensed that this was no ordinary security check. There was an unusual energy in the air, a subtle but unmistakable shift. Some whispered to each other, speculating, questioning. Why is she being stopped? Is this some kind of power move? Cameras captured Meghan's calm, yet visibly frustrated demeanor, her eyes scanning the room, searching for answers. She knew this was bigger than herself, bigger than the dress, bigger than the lights. This was a story about perception, authority, and control. Security, however, was not going to make it easy. Each attempt to push forward, to negotiate entry, was met with the same rigid response. Guards stepped in, blocking her path, repeating the same phrase. "I'm sorry, you cannot enter." Even as Meghan politely questioned them, asking for clarification, their stance remained unchanged. To the casual observer, it seemed like a minor hiccup. But to anyone paying attention, it was a strategic stop, a subtle assertion of power meant to be witnessed by all. And Meghan, ever the public figure, recognized the stakes immediately. Meanwhile, her team scrambled. Publicists whispered into earpieces, trying to get a line on the organizers. Stylists and personal assistants moved close, shielding her from the prying lenses of photographers. But even they knew there was little they could do if the orders were absolute. The tension was visible in every gesture. The tightening of Meghan's jaw, the deliberate inhale of frustration, the subtle glances toward the crowd and the cameras. Each micro-expression was magnified under the bright lights, turning a simple security protocol into a spectacle that would dominate headlines within minutes. So, why would security act this way? Was it merely a miscommunication? Perhaps an oversight in the guest list? Possibly. But insiders suggested there was more at play. The Gotham Film Awards are notorious for backstage politics. VIP lists are meticulously curated, and high-profile attendees are often subject to additional scrutiny. But Meghan's profile complicates things. She is not just a celebrity. She is a former duchess, someone who carries the weight of global attention wherever she goes. That means every decision, every action, every denial carries extra significance. Stopping her at the door was not a casual choice. It was an event with consequences. Observers noted something unusual during the standoff. Other celebrities approached, some with curiosity, others with thinly veiled amusement. Whispers rippled through the crowd. Some speculated that the organizers were testing Meghan, gauging her reaction under public pressure. Others suggested this was a power play, a deliberate snub meant to assert influence over a woman who is often perceived as untouchable in Hollywood circles. And then there were those who saw it simply as chaos. An unplanned event that spiraled out of control once security made the initial call. Meghan, never one to remain passive, began to engage directly. She asked pointed questions. Who authorized this? Can someone explain why I am being stopped? Her tone was firm yet composed, a delicate balance between assertiveness and diplomacy. But the guards remained unmoved. Their role was clear, their orders absolute. And with every passing second, the spectacle grew more intense. Cameras clicked, flashes illuminated the scene, and the whispers of the crowd turned into low murmurings of anticipation. It was as if the world was collectively holding its breath. Now, here's a detail most people missed: the subtle choreography of body language between Meghan and the security team. Every step she took, every gesture, was measured. She didn't storm off in a dramatic tantrum. She didn't throw her hands up in frustration. Instead, she exuded controlled indignation. A visible mix of disbelief and authority. Security, on the other hand, was equally calculated. They were not just enforcing rules. They were sending a message, one that would ripple far beyond the red carpet. This was not merely about entry. It was about control, power, and public perception. And then the rumors began to spread. Sources on social media claimed that Meghan had been uninvited, a claim that was initially denied by organizers but widely circulated nonetheless. Some suggested that there were backstage conflicts between her team and the event coordinators. Others hinted at more personal motives: Hollywood politics, rivalries, and subtle attempts to undermine her influence. Each theory added layers of intrigue, turning a seemingly simple standoff into a story that would dominate every screen, every feed, and every headline. As the standoff continued, Meghan's patience and strategy became more apparent. She knew that reacting impulsively could be catastrophic. Every gesture, every word, every micro-expression would be scrutinized by millions. She needed to maintain authority without losing composure. And yet, there was a visible tension, a storm beneath the surface. Observers could see it in her narrowed eyes, the slight shift of her weight, the deliberate pacing of her words. It was a performance of resilience, one that combined anger, frustration, and strategic control, all in full public view. But here's where it gets even more interesting. Some witnesses reported whispers among the security personnel themselves, discussions about instructions, back-and-forth clarifications, subtle nods to unseen decision-makers. It was clear that this was not a spontaneous act. Someone higher up had made the call, someone who understood the impact of stopping Meghan at the threshold. And that revelation added a new dimension to the story. This was no longer about a simple security protocol. This was about power, influence, and the intricate dynamics of celebrity culture. By now, social media was already lighting up. Videos of Meghan halted at the door were shared thousands of times in real time. Fans expressed outrage, critics offered biting commentary, and the rumor mill churned like never before. Each clip, each frame, magnified the moment, turning it into a viral spectacle. And while the world debated, Meghan continued to navigate the standoff with calculated composure, refusing to give the cameras a chance to depict her as anything less than poised. And just when it seemed the situation could not escalate further, a new variable entered the equation. A mysterious figure, reportedly a senior event coordinator, appeared behind the velvet ropes. Observers could only speculate on their role. Were they there to resolve the standoff? To enforce orders? Or to escalate the tension further? The ambiguity added fuel to the fire, leaving everyone, fans, media, and onlookers alike, on edge. The narrative was no longer just about denial of entry. It was evolving into a story of intrigue, suspense, and unpredictable consequences. But what came next would change everything, and no one saw it coming. The tension, already palpable, was about to reach its breaking point. Behind the cameras, whispers were turning into plans. Behind the velvet ropes, decisions were being made that would ripple across Hollywood and beyond. And for Meghan Markle, this was no longer just a moment of frustration. It was a crucible that would define the night, the awards, and perhaps her public narrative for months to come. What if everything you thought you knew about a situation was only half the truth? Imagine seeing Meghan Markle halted at the Gotham Film Awards 2025, cameras flashing, fans gasping, and social media exploding in real time. The public sees the immediate drama. A woman stopped at the red carpet. But behind the velvet ropes, away from the glare of the lights, a very different story is unfolding. One filled with whispers, conflicting agendas, and secrets that no one is supposed to know. This is where the real intrigue begins, where perception and reality collide, and where the question arises, was Meghan really uninvited, or has she been misunderstood? Immediately after the standoff, backstage sources began reaching out to journalists, providing tantalizing pieces of information that only deepened the mystery. It wasn't just security, one unnamed source said. There's a lot going on behind the scenes. People you wouldn't expect have opinions, and some of them are very vocal about her presence here. The tone of the message was cryptic, hinting at complex interpersonal politics, rivalries, and perhaps even deliberate attempts to control the narrative. Was this about Meghan herself, or about the power structures she inadvertently disrupted just by showing up? Hollywood insiders described a tense pre-event meeting among organizers and VIP coordinators. According to these accounts, there had been disagreements about the guest list long before the red carpet opened. Some reportedly argued that Meghan's presence would overshadow other attendees. Others claimed concerns over security, and a few hinted at personal grievances, long-standing resentments from those who had never fully embraced her in Hollywood circles. These whispers painted a picture of a meticulously orchestrated power struggle, one that would not be apparent to anyone outside the inner circle. But here's where it gets even more fascinating. Multiple insiders claim there were subtle instructions given to security personnel not to admit Meghan without explicit approval from a senior organizer. If true, this wasn't a mistake. It wasn't a miscommunication. It was a deliberate, calculated move. An invisible hand shaping events in a way that was designed to be noticed, to spark speculation, and to put Meghan in a precarious position. Every standoff, every refusal, every tense pause had intention behind it. This revelation shifts the narrative entirely. Suddenly, what appeared to be a logistical hiccup transforms into a strategic maneuver. Meanwhile, Meghan's team was frantically trying to verify information. Publicists, assistants, and legal advisors were on their phones, communicating with the organizers, attempting to confirm whether she had, in fact, been uninvited or whether this was simply a misunderstanding. The tension mounted with each passing minute. Imagine the stakes. You are being publicly denied entry, your every reaction recorded, your reputation potentially on the line, and you still don't have a clear answer. Every second is a mix of strategy and emotion, and for Meghan, the challenge was to maintain composure while navigating a minefield of misinformation and uncertainty. Adding to the intrigue, there were hints of backstage politics involving other high-profile attendees. Sources claimed that a few influential celebrities had voiced concerns about Meghan overshadowing the event, subtly suggesting that her presence might distract from the awards themselves. Some even speculated that these suggestions reached the ears of organizers, influencing the decision to stop her at the door. The implications were staggering. If true, it wasn't just about protocol. It was about status, hierarchy, and the delicate balancing act of Hollywood politics. And yet, despite the swirling rumors, Meghan remained composed. Observers noted that she didn't lash out or storm away immediately. Instead, she engaged with her team, spoke calmly yet assertively to security, and sought clarity. Every gesture was calculated, a blend of dignity and strategic defiance. It was a performance of resilience, an assertion of presence even when physically blocked. And in doing so, she was silently sending a message. Being uninvited, or even misunderstood, would not define her public narrative. Social media began to erupt with speculation. Clips of Meghan halted at the red carpet were shared widely, accompanied by captions like "Uninvited," "Shock at Gotham," and "Meghan denied entry." Hollywood drama explodes. Fans, critics, and influencers debated endlessly. Was this an intentional snub? Was it a misunderstanding? Or something even more calculated? The curiosity gap widened, and the story took on a life of its own, amplified by algorithms and shared millions of times across platforms. Every new clip, every observer commentary, fueled the fire, ensuring that the standoff would dominate headlines long after the cameras stopped flashing. Backstage, the insider information continued to pour in. Some claimed that organizers had attempted a discreet resolution before the public confrontation escalated. Attempts were made to contact Meghan's team via text and phone calls, suggesting that they could negotiate entry if certain conditions were met. But the delays, miscommunications, and deliberate hesitations contributed to the drama unfolding in real time. In other words, the spectacle was partially manufactured, partially chaotic, and fully gripping. The tension wasn't just accidental. It was strategic, whether intentional or circumstantial. At this point, questions abound. Why would organizers risk public outrage by halting someone of Meghan's stature? Was it about control, influence, or simply a misjudgment of optics? Could it be tied to her prior controversies, past conflicts, or even ongoing negotiations with Hollywood insiders? Or was this an unfortunate convergence of miscommunication and power dynamics? A perfect storm that no one anticipated? Each theory adds layers of complexity, creating a narrative maze that is as enthralling as it is perplexing. Even among insiders, accounts differed. Some claimed the denial was purely procedural, citing security protocols, VIP list confirmations, and concerns about overcapacity. Others suggested it was personal, a subtle attempt to make a statement about influence, status, or social hierarchy. Some sources hinted at whispers from senior organizers, who may have feared that Meghan's presence would dominate media coverage, overshadowing other celebrities and the awards themselves. The contradictions only added to the intrigue, fueling speculation and keeping the public engaged, guessing, and debating. Through it all, Meghan maintained a calm, yet firm presence. She spoke to organizers, inquired about reasons, and asked for immediate clarification. Observers noted the balance between indignation and diplomacy. Her responses were assertive, yet measured, carefully designed to project composure under pressure while signaling dissatisfaction with the situation. And as the tension built, everyone watching, from fans to press to industry insiders, could sense that this was a moment that would not be forgotten. It wasn't just about being stopped at a door. It was about identity, authority, and public perception, all colliding on a glittering red carpet in Gotham. But here's the real kicker. Some insiders claim there were secret messages circulating among organizers and staff, discussing how to handle Meghan's presence without causing a PR disaster. The documents and texts, never intended for public eyes, suggested an awareness of the viral potential of the incident. Every decision, from security placement to verbal responses, was carefully considered for optics. This elevated the event from a simple standoff to a meticulously observed, almost cinematic, unfolding drama. And yet, the most shocking part of this insider scoop was what was hinted at, but not yet revealed. A senior source suggested that someone influential, someone with connections that span Hollywood and beyond, was orchestrating elements of the evening to ensure that Meghan's public confrontation was unavoidable. The implications are staggering. If true, this would mean that what seemed like a spontaneous moment of chaos was actually part of a broader plan, one designed to generate headlines, stir controversy, and create a spectacle that no one could ignore. What happens when the world watches not just one person, but an entire event unravel in real time? The Gotham Film Awards 2025 was supposed to be a celebration, an elegant evening honoring the best in cinema. But instead, it quickly became a spectacle dominated by the halted entrance of Meghan Markle. And in moments like these, the reactions of other high-profile attendees are often just as revealing as the drama itself. Every whisper, every smirk, every subtle gesture tells a story of its own. A story about alliances, rivalries, and the invisible politics that govern Hollywood's elite circles. As Meghan stood outside the velvet ropes, attempting to negotiate entry, cameras began panning across the crowd of celebrities who had already entered the venue. Some offered glances of curiosity, others of concern, and a few, according to insiders, were visibly amused. There's a subtle psychology to these moments. When a high-profile figure faces an unexpected obstacle, everyone else instinctively gauges how it will affect them. Some celebrities saw Meghan's halted entrance as a dramatic spectacle to watch, while others feared the ripple effects on their own public image. One attendee, a prominent actor known for navigating Hollywood politics with precision, was reportedly overheard whispering to a colleague, "This is going to dominate headlines, and she's handling it so gracefully." The tone was a mixture of admiration and disbelief. Admiration because Meghan had maintained composure under pressure, and disbelief because the situation itself was so extraordinary. Celebrities are accustomed to chaos, but being stopped at a red carpet, especially at a major awards event, was unprecedented, even by Hollywood standards. Meanwhile, social media began to amplify these reactions. Clips of Meghan halted at the entrance were shared alongside commentary from attendees who live-streamed portions of the event. Influencers speculated on her demeanor, while fans debated whether the denial was intentional or a misunderstanding. The reactions from inside the venue became a secondary story: who was sympathetic, who was critical, and who remained silent. Each response was dissected by millions online, adding layers of intrigue and fueling the ongoing narrative of tension, power, and spectacle. Some stars reportedly approached the entrance, curious to understand what was happening. A few attempted discreet intervention, offering to speak to organizers on Meghan's behalf. Others, however, remained at a distance, observing the situation unfold as if it were a live performance. The dynamics were fascinating. Alliances and perceived loyalties were on display in subtle body language. A supportive glance, a whispered word to a colleague, a deliberate avoidance. Each small action became a headline in its own right. Among the reactions, a few stand out for their audacity. A renowned director, who has previously been critical of celebrity drama, was spotted gesturing subtly to a staff member while looking directly at Meghan. The gesture was interpreted by some as either an invitation to bypass the formal standoff or a sign of acknowledgement, a silent, "We see you, and this is not right." Yet even this action carried weight. In Hollywood, a gesture like this can signal alliances, indicate power struggles, or foreshadow narratives that might dominate the media for weeks. Insiders reported that conversations backstage were electric. Some attendees expressed concern that the incident might overshadow the awards themselves. Others debated whether Meghan's public persona and royal associations were influencing how the organizers were handling the situation. There was talk of optics, perception management, and potential PR fallout. Every interaction, every glance, every whisper carried multiple layers of meaning, and the stakes were extraordinarily high. In an environment where image is everything, Meghan's halted entrance had become the defining moment of the evening, far eclipsing the films being honored. Meanwhile, celebrities outside the immediate area offered commentary through social media. Tweets, posts, and stories poured in, ranging from sympathetic to critical. Some framed Meghan as a victim of an unfair snub, praising her poise. Others framed the incident as a calculated overreaction. And then there were those who speculated about larger, behind-the-scenes agendas, Hollywood politics, rivalries, and even subtle influence from royal circles. These online reactions only amplified the drama, ensuring that the story would dominate headlines and feeds worldwide. And yet, despite the swirling commentary, Meghan continued to engage strategically. She acknowledged those who offered support, subtly nodding or giving a composed smile, while maintaining her focus on the security standoff. Every gesture was deliberate. She needed to convey authority, composure, and control. The reactions of other stars, whether supportive, amused, or indifferent, became a mirror reflecting the complex social dynamics at play. Every move she made had consequences for perception, alliances, and her public narrative. Some sources even suggested that a few high-profile attendees were quietly coordinating their actions. Their goal was to influence the outcome without escalating the confrontation further. This included discreetly speaking to security personnel, signaling organizers, or using subtle gestures to communicate support. In essence, the red carpet had transformed into a theater of power and influence, where even small actions could have outsized consequences. Amid all this, fans and media were not idle. Tweets, posts, and live streams amplified the reactions of celebrities inside the venue, turning minor gestures into major talking points. A nod of support became a headline. A whispered comment became evidence of a perceived alliance or rivalry. Every detail was magnified, dissected, and analyzed. The stakes for Meghan were enormous. The way she handled herself under scrutiny would shape the narrative, influence fan perception, and potentially affect future invitations and interactions within Hollywood circles. Perhaps the most telling reactions were those of celebrities with no prior relationship to Meghan. Observers noted the subtle body language. Some leaned in, showing curiosity and empathy. Others shifted away, maintaining distance, and a few simply stared, perhaps trying to assess the unfolding drama. In a high-stakes environment like Hollywood, every action is a signal: support, neutrality, or disdain. Each choice carries weight, and Meghan's ability to read and respond to these cues would prove crucial in navigating the night. But the drama didn't stop at passive observation. A few VIPs attempted intervention. According to insiders, a well-connected producer approached the security team, arguing for Meghan's immediate entry. Another influential figure reportedly called an organizer directly, requesting clarification and suggesting a resolution. These attempts created a tense, multi-layered negotiation in real time, a delicate dance between authority, optics, and celebrity influence. Yet, despite these efforts, the standoff persisted, heightening suspense and drawing even more attention. The combination of public scrutiny, backstage maneuvering, and VIP interventions created a volatile mix. Each reaction, each whispered conversation, and each strategic gesture added tension and anticipation. The Gotham Film Awards, meant to honor cinematic excellence, had transformed into a live drama where the real story was the human dynamics playing out in front of everyone. And in the center of it all, Meghan Markle stood poised, calm yet visibly frustrated, navigating a web of public perception, private negotiation, and raw emotion. And just when it seemed the standoff might resolve, or at least plateau, rumors began circulating about secret communications among the organizers and senior Hollywood figures. Some claimed that they were planning a strategic resolution. Others suggested attempts to delay her entry to maximize the spectacle. The red carpet drama had evolved into a carefully monitored event, one where perception, influence, and strategy collided. And for Meghan, every second that passed was a test of composure, authority, and public narrative management. What happens when a single moment ignites a wildfire across the globe in seconds? For Meghan Markle at the Gotham Film Awards 2025, the halted entrance wasn't just a personal embarrassment. It became a full-blown media phenomenon. Within moments of the red carpet standoff, clips were circulating online, hashtags were trending, and every social media platform became a forum for speculation, outrage, and opinion. In today's hyper-connected world, one publicized pause can spiral into a viral storm, and Meghan was right at the eye of it. It started subtly. A few audience members and photographers began posting snippets to Twitter and Instagram, capturing Meghan standing at the entrance, her expression poised yet tense. The first reactions were curiosity-driven. Why is Meghan Markle stopped at the red carpet? Uninvited? At the Gotham Awards? Those initial posts, viewed by thousands within minutes, acted as sparks. Then, as more observers shared video clips and screenshots, the firestorm began. Social media algorithms, hungry for engagement, amplified every post. Within 20 minutes, millions of viewers had seen her halted entrance. The nature of social media is instantaneous, but also ruthless. Memes began to appear almost immediately, some playful, some critical, some downright harsh. One viral image showed Meghan seemingly staring down the security team, paired with the caption, "When you're too famous for the velvet rope." Another meme framed the moment as a Hollywood political chess match, with Meghan cast as a queen in a game she never agreed to play. Each post, meme, or clip added layers of interpretation, amplifying the narrative in ways that could barely be controlled. Meanwhile, news outlets scrambled to cover the event. Headlines ranged from shock and sensationalism to speculation and analysis. Meghan Markle denied entry at Gotham Film Awards. One headline screamed, "Royal snub or Hollywood politics?" Fans outraged, another asked. Commentators debated endlessly. Was this a procedural error, a deliberate snub, or a miscalculation by organizers fearful of her star power? Each outlet added its own spin, feeding the curiosity gap and keeping audiences glued to feeds. The immediacy of social media also meant the story evolved by the minute. Every detail, Meghan's micro-expressions, the posture of security, whispers among staff, even subtle gestures from VIP attendees, was dissected frame by frame. Analysts, both professional and amateur, speculated about her reactions. Some argued she remained calm with strategic composure, a masterclass in crisis management. Others interpreted her furrowed brow and narrowed eyes as visible frustration, signaling that the denial was more personal than procedural. The debate was fierce, and no conclusion seemed definitive, which only fueled further engagement. Fan communities were equally active. Some launched campaigns supporting Meghan, posting videos of the standoff with captions like, "She deserves respect, always." Hashtags like hashtag Gotham Red Carpet Drama and hashtag Let Meghan In started trending globally. Supporters speculated about the possible backstage motives, sending messages directly to media outlets and organizing online discussions to ensure the narrative remained in public consciousness. Other fan groups, more critical, debated whether Meghan had overreacted or mismanaged the situation. The polarizing effect of her halted entrance intensified the story, turning a single incident into a cultural flashpoint. It wasn't just fans and news outlets. The influencers had their day. Popular social media personalities live-streamed the scene, providing minute-by-minute updates, speculating on motives, and creating their own mini-narratives. TikTok videos reenacted the incident with dramatic flair, while Instagram Reels highlighted key moments, zooming in on Meghan's facial expressions and gestures. YouTube channels uploaded reaction videos, analyzing every possible angle, some offering emotional commentary, others sarcastic takes. By the time the first hour passed, the incident had achieved global reach, with millions engaging, sharing, and debating. And then there was the commentary from celebrities themselves. Some had their own social media accounts, where they posted reactions, subtle nods of support, or carefully worded statements about fairness, respect, and professionalism. A few public figures went live, discussing the incident in interviews or live streams, further amplifying the story. Even those who were physically inside the venue contributed indirectly. Their whispered comments or visible gestures caught on camera and circulated online. The entire ecosystem of media and celebrity attention collided into one unstoppable narrative, and Meghan's halted entrance was at its center. Meanwhile, the algorithms worked relentlessly. Videos with the most engagement, likes, shares, comments, were promoted to millions more, ensuring that the story continued to dominate feeds. Every minute, every new clip, every reaction extended the life cycle of the incident. It was no longer confined to the physical event. It had become a digital spectacle, a story that transcended the red carpet and entered global consciousness. And in this environment, timing mattered. Every delayed response, every subtle gesture, every statement, or lack thereof, was scrutinized, dissected, and amplified. At the same time, social media commentary was not always rational. Conspiracy theories emerged almost immediately. Some claimed that Meghan had been intentionally uninvited by organizers who feared her influence. Others speculated that the situation was orchestrated as a publicity stunt, either by her team or by rivals seeking maximum media attention. Some threads even suggested that Hollywood power players had conspired behind the scenes to create a viral moment. While these theories varied in plausibility, they all contributed to the sense of drama and suspense, ensuring that the incident would remain in headlines for days. Even traditional media was forced to adapt. Morning shows, entertainment news segments, and talk shows dissected the incident in real time. Anchors analyzed video clips, debated motives, and interviewed insiders. Each segment contributed to the frenzy, blurring the lines between reporting, speculation, and entertainment. It became clear that Meghan's halted entrance was no longer just a red carpet issue. It had transformed into a media phenomenon, a story about celebrity, influence, and power amplified by modern communication. Back at the event, Meghan's team was acutely aware of the social media frenzy. Every update, every comment, and every viral post had the potential to shape public perception. Their strategy became immediate. Maintain composure, manage optics, and respond only when necessary to avoid fueling further controversy. Yet, the pressure was immense. In a digital age where perception is reality, the narrative unfolding online was as critical as the situation at the entrance itself. Meghan's response, or lack thereof, would be dissected in tweets, posts, videos, and articles for days to come. The frenzy had additional consequences. Brands, sponsors, and partners watching the event in real time were forced to consider their associations. Would their support of the awards, or any public alignment with the organizers, be seen as complicit in a snub? Would audiences interpret their silence as indifference? Every reaction, from a like on a social media post to a retweet, carried strategic implications. In a world where optics and alignment matter, the halted entrance of a single celebrity reverberated far beyond the red carpet, influencing business, image, and perception in unexpected ways. And just when it seemed the media storm could not intensify further, a shocking twist emerged. Insider reports began leaking to the press that the standoff was not merely about security. It was tied to prior conflicts, whispered backstage politics, and potentially deliberate efforts to shape how Meghan was perceived at a moment of maximum visibility. The online frenzy had set the stage for an even more dramatic revelation, one that would tie together power, influence, and strategy in ways that no one had anticipated. What do you do when a public spectacle spirals out of control and the world is watching your every move? That was the exact predicament facing the Gotham Film Awards organizers in 2025. The halted entrance of Meghan Markle had already gone viral, dominating headlines, trending across social media, and capturing global attention. Suddenly, the focus of the evening had shifted from celebrating cinematic achievements to a high-profile standoff at the red carpet. Behind the velvet ropes, the organizers were scrambling, trying to regain control, assess their options, and navigate the mounting scrutiny in real time. Inside the main venue, the mood was tense. Event coordinators, senior staff, and security leads huddled in rapid-fire discussions, their voices a mix of urgency and frustration. According to insiders, conversations moved quickly from procedural explanations to damage control. One senior coordinator reportedly muttered, "We didn't plan this. Nobody authorized this kind of public escalation." Another staff member added, "But it's out there now. Millions are watching. Every decision from this point forward matters." The pressure was immense. The story had already taken on a life of its own, and every action, or inaction, would influence public perception. The first order of business was to understand the cause. Who had issued the instruction to stop Meghan at the entrance? Was it a genuine security protocol, a miscommunication, or something deliberate? According to insiders, staff traced the decision back through multiple layers of approval. Security personnel had claimed they were following explicit orders from higher management. However, there was no immediate consensus on who had authorized the denial or whether it had been intended as a temporary measure or a final decision. Confusion and conflicting accounts added layers of complication, making the organizers' job even more difficult. Public relations teams moved quickly. They drafted statements, debated language, and attempted to anticipate potential backlash. Every word had to be carefully measured. Any hint of unfairness could ignite further outrage, while any admission of error could be exploited by critics. One PR consultant reportedly said, "We need a statement that acknowledges the situation without admitting fault and reassures the public that the awards remain a celebration of film." It was a delicate balancing act, a tightrope walk between transparency, control, and damage mitigation. Meanwhile, organizers were acutely aware of the optics. Social media clips showing Meghan halted at the red carpet had already gone viral, and every passing minute added layers of speculation. Some insiders suggested that certain organizers considered allowing her entry immediately, but logistical and security concerns complicated the decision. There were fears that a sudden reversal could appear inconsistent or reactionary, potentially making the situation worse. In Hollywood, perception often outweighs reality, and the organizers understood that every move was scrutinized, analyzed, and potentially misinterpreted. Behind the scenes, attempts at discreet communication began. Coordinators reportedly contacted Meghan's team, attempting to clarify the situation and offer potential resolutions. Text messages and calls were exchanged, but delays in response, miscommunication, and heightened emotions slowed progress. Meghan's team, conscious of the public gaze, wanted to ensure that any resolution did not undermine her authority or project vulnerability. Every message, every phone call, every negotiation had to be calculated, adding tension to an already volatile situation. Insiders also revealed that the organizers were divided internally. Some believed that enforcing protocol strictly was necessary to maintain order and authority. Others argued that allowing Meghan entry, even retroactively, was essential to mitigate PR fallout and restore calm. The split created a tense environment, with each faction pushing subtly to influence the final decision. Behind the velvet ropes, it was less a question of security and more a question of optics, power, and narrative control. The organizers faced additional pressures from VIP attendees. Several high-profile celebrities had already noticed the standoff and were quietly expressing concern. Some offered to advocate on Meghan's behalf, while others were reportedly weighing their own public images against the potential fallout. The organizers had to navigate not just the viral spectacle, but also the delicate web of relationships, influence, and Hollywood politics that surrounded it. Every choice had ramifications beyond the event itself, extending into future collaborations, partnerships, and media narratives. In response to the escalating media frenzy, senior organizers convened an emergency meeting. They reviewed social media posts, live coverage, and insider reports to understand the full scope of the narrative. One senior event planner reportedly said, "This is no longer just about security. It's about controlling a story that's gone global in minutes." The urgency was palpable. With the world watching, every misstep could escalate the controversy further, and organizers were acutely aware of how quickly public sentiment could turn. Then came the tactical discussions. Should Meghan be allowed entry under strict supervision? Should they issue an official statement now, or wait until the situation de-escalated? How could they balance authority with diplomacy? According to insiders, multiple contingency plans were drafted, each weighing risks, optics, and potential outcomes. Every option carried consequences, and there was no clear, perfect solution. And while these discussions unfolded, some organizers reportedly grew increasingly concerned about long-term implications. Could this incident set a precedent for how other high-profile guests would be treated in the future? Would it affect sponsorship deals or partnerships? Could it even influence ticket sales for future events? The ripple effects extended far beyond a single red carpet, demonstrating how a moment of tension can transform into a complex organizational and cultural challenge. Adding to the intensity, whispers about backstage politics began to surface. According to insiders, some staff members hinted that personal biases and rivalries may have influenced the decision to stop Meghan initially. While not confirmed, these suggestions further complicated the situation, hinting that the standoff might not have been purely procedural. The organizers were suddenly managing not just an incident, but the perceptions of potential internal conflict. Amid all of this, one of the most delicate challenges remained: timing. Every decision had to be made in real time, with millions observing online, while maintaining decorum for attendees inside the venue. Organizers had to reconcile the desire to de-escalate with the risk of appearing weak or inconsistent. In essence, they were performing a high-stakes balancing act under extreme public scrutiny. And then came a subtle but crucial development. According to insiders, a senior figure quietly suggested a strategic compromise: allow Meghan entry, but create a carefully choreographed moment that maintained decorum and minimized spectacle. It was a solution that sought to balance authority with diplomacy, optics with practicality, and public narrative with internal protocol. Yet, even this solution was fraught with risk. Any misstep could be misinterpreted, fueling further media frenzy. But what came next would push the organizer's strategy to its limits. Behind the velvet ropes, decisions would have to be made in seconds, reactions anticipated in milliseconds, and every choice weighed against a backdrop of viral scrutiny, Hollywood politics, and global attention. The next moves would determine not just the outcome of the standoff, but the narrative of the night itself. And for Meghan Markle, it would define her red carpet story in ways no one could yet imagine. What do you do when the world expects you to explode, yet every eye is watching your reaction? For Meghan Markle at the Gotham Film Awards 2025, the halted entrance wasn't just a minor inconvenience. It was a public challenge, a carefully scrutinized moment that could define her image for weeks, if not months. And she knew it. She understood that the way she responded would ripple far beyond the red carpet, influencing fans, media narratives, and Hollywood insiders alike. The standoff had reached a critical point. Cameras clicked relentlessly, capturing every subtle facial expression, every shift in posture, every micro-gesture. Social media had erupted, trending hashtags were filling feeds, and the press had descended into speculation mode. It was the perfect storm for a dramatic misstep, yet Meghan remained poised. That poised exterior, however, concealed a flurry of strategic thinking behind the scenes. Every action, every word, every glance was carefully measured to convey composure while asserting authority. Her first move was subtle, almost imperceptible. She adjusted her stance, grounding herself physically while sending a clear signal to both security and organizers. She was not going to be easily dismissed.